Hey, what's up? Welcome to another edition of the Mandatory Live. Thank you so much for joining us on this Thursday. Well, I guess it's late morning here on the West Coast and early afternoon on the East Coast where Bryan is. We do appreciate you, though. Remember to follow our social media channels. We're at the Mandatory TKO, and also hit that like and subscribe button because it helps the channel grow. And if you already have, we do appreciate you rocking with us. We're also on the audio side, so course, if you have like 1 minute, give us a 5-star because it helps the channel grow. This one might be the biggest duck of the year because Vasiliy Lomachenko has decided to take the rest of the year off and not fight Gervonta Tank Davis when it was reported by many people that they were in talks to have a fight in December, possibly after Thanksgiving weekend. But it's not happening because Vasiliy Lomachenko said, you know what, I'm going to take a year off, come back next year. And now there was also rumors that Tank would then fight Shakur Stevenson, but now there's rumors that Shakur Stevenson and William Zepeda are going to be getting it on. So let's stick with the Lomachenko taking the rest of the year off, Bryan, when he could have arguably had another big payday, had a blockbuster fight against Tank Davis, and he decides he's going to take a year off. Is this the biggest duck of the year?
Well, some people would say that the dude we just talked about, Canelo Alvarez, not fighting David Benavidez, might be that. I don't like accusing boxers of ducking, but there's talks, reports, rumors about Vasiliy Lomachenko versus Gervonta Davis at the end of the year, and then reports come out that Vasiliy Lomachenko, one of the quotes was, doesn't feel like fighting this year again, and is taking the rest of the year off after beating George Kambosos in a fight where he overwhelmed him and stopped him, his first stoppage in a little bit, and beats George Kambosos, who most boxing fans and reporters will tell you is probably not the stiffest test in that division.
I'm so tired of George Kambosos, dude. Like
I'm trying to be
Leo.
nice. I'm
I
trying to be
know,
nice
but
because I respect dude like
I
a
do, I
ton.
do. Like, and go
He
get your
comes to
money,
fight.
but
He
go
comes to
get.
fight. He got his bread, but he hasn't convincingly won a fight in a long
Teo.
ass time.
Listen, all I'm gonna say is he made money off Teo.
Yeah.
Facts. Like this is Teo wasn't. He was dealing with stuff outside of the ring. Didn't come into that fight prepared. And George Kambosos capitalized on that. So I give him props for that because he's getting the bag in Australia every time. But this is a duck from Lomachenko. And I thought I would never say that because at one time before he fought Teofimo Lopez, people were saying that he was pound for pound number one on the list. That's what they were saying about Lomachenko. You have a chance and you continue to say that you want all the belts at lightweight. That's what he says. He wants all the belts. Lomachenko, he said that was the goal.
Everybody says that.
He said that was the goal, though. That was his goal,
Mhm.
right? And we saw him cry after the Devin Haney fight. We saw him shed tears after that fight. And now you have a
some
chance.
People think he won also.
Okay, yeah. So the tears are warranted. Okay,
Yeah.
maybe.
Yeah.
But I thought Haney did enough. Anyways,
me too. Me too.
But you have a chance to fight Tank Davis, who I believe is the best lightweight in the world, but also he's a pay-per-view fighter. You can get the bag, arguably would be one of the biggest fights of the year, and you want to take the rest of the year off when you're going to get older?
It's legit disgusting.
It's nasty. This is nasty work by Lomachenko. You're ducking. And I never say that, but this is a clear duck. You can't say that you want Tank for the longest time. And then when the opportunity is happening and there's conversations being held by Top Rank, oh, I'm going to take the year off. That's terrible, Bryan. I'm sorry. That's a duck.
If that's in fact what happened. If that's in fact what happened, I agree. It's just shit around this sport. You always kind of got to be like, until it's done. But if that's what happened, I agree. I don't see people accusing Tank of ducking Lomachenko.
Tank wants the fight. Tank wants the fight.
No, but that's what I'm saying. It's like all the reporting and the rumors and people involved like are suggesting that this is on Lomachenko's side. So, and I do think Tank wants a big fight, and I know Shakur Stevenson wants a big fight. That's another thing that we're about to talk about. There was a report from IFL TV that the unification between the two was set for November 23rd. Dan Raphael shut that shit down immediately, as did Shakur Stevenson. So that is not happening.
Shakur was like, "This is fake."
Yes.
However,
And he may
Shakur
fight William Zepeda next, Shakur Stevenson, because I think that's his mandatory for the WBC lightweight
and
champion.
Mike Coppinger was saying this for a minute, like fight Zepeda, and I believe Shakur blocked him. And this was Shakur Stevenson blocked him because Mike Coppinger was like, "Why don't you fight Zepeda next?" Because Shakur's last fight was such a dud in terms of excitement.
It'll be tough to
And
make a fight with Zepeda a dud. I'll tell you
yeah,
that.
exactly. Shakur is gonna have to fight, but at the same time, I feel like the Tank and him fight was there to make it happen too. Like it was there to happen, and I think Tank wants it. And I think, to be honest with you, I think everyone's ducking Tank right now. I'll be the first to say it. Everyone is ducking Tank right now. You like Shakur Stevenson has said, "I want to fight Gervonta Tank Davis." Well, then why aren't you fighting him in November? You're your own business, right?
It's funny. Shakur's a free agent. It's important to note. This is something that this is not like a top rank thing now. You can't really put this on Bob Arum. You have to look at Shakur and be like, all right, now make a fight happen. If it's William Zepeda and that's his mandatory, and
that's a great fight, by the way.
like if they're like, oh, we're gonna strip you of the title if you don't fight him next, and just do like sanctioning body bullshit, then whatever. Like, all right, cool, fight Tank after then. I would have wanted to see Shakur and Vasiliy Lomachenko when they were both at top rank. There's a non-zero chance that Shakur actually returns to top rank. Like, we'll see what happens there.
It's too much beef there. I think there's too much beef there. Like
maybe like Terrence Crawford at one point, and Terrence Crawford is in his corner, in his ear. Maybe Terrence Crawford is telling him, "Yo, fuck them dudes." You know what I'm saying? Do whatever, like leave. I don't know, but I think that Gervonta Davis, where does this leave him? I guess is where I want to get to. Like, okay, if let's play this out, probably in the most realistic scenario, right? If Lomachenko is in fact taking the rest of 2024 off, and if Shakur Stevenson is going to fight William Zepeda on a platform to be named later, but at some point this fall and defend his WBC title, Gervonta Davis does what?
Doesn't have a dance partner. He doesn't have a dance partner right now. Maybe he gets money and fights George Kambosos Jr. I don't know.
Could he unify with Baranchyk, or does he have to absolutely fight Emmanuel Navarrete again?
I think him and Emmanuel Navarrete would be a better fight.
No, like Baranchyk versus Navarrete. I'm saying, do they have to
again? Because no, I don't want to see that again.
Me neither. But like there was a report saying that like the WBO may ask them to do a rematch or whatever it was, and I'm like, all right, like I don't think that needs to happen, but whatever. And now, and there's also talk about Navarrete fighting Oscar Valdez again,
but that fight already happened. But I don't mind, because I'm like, I didn't like Valdez's performance, and if anyone watches the show, big Oscar Valdez fan. However, I think what should actually happen is I think Shakur should fight Baranchyk. Right, that's why I was like, why didn't you stay at top rank? Because that's a fight that could have easily been made, and then winner fights unify the titles, because that's an easy fight to make. Even Lomachenko could have fight Baranchyk, and that's like Ukraine versus Ukraine. Like that's a cool fight to have for their country. For their country.
Not every country wants two dudes to fight each other on behalf of their country.
I know, but if you want all the belts,
I know what you mean.
You know what I mean? Like this is the type of stuff I'm going to be doing in Undisputed.
I gotta see with the rest of this division, but lightweight is not. Lightweight has some very good fighters in here, but I mean, there's three guys that the masses care about, and then everyone else is sort of next. Like, I don't think we're talking about Keyshawn Davis yet fighting any of these dudes in this tier. I thought actually, because Shakur Stevenson was leaving top rank, that Keyshawn Davis was gonna try to get a fight with Shakur, like lure him in, call him out after his last win, and potentially, but he just generically left it at like all the names, whatever. Raymond Murataya just beat Tevin Farmer, air quotes, because a lot of people think Tevin Farmer should have won that fight.
He should have won that fight, dude.
Raymond Murataya.
Murataya is disappointing me in so many ways. Like, I was very high on him.
He's second in the WBC rankings right now. So there's which is to say maybe Shakur Stevenson fights him next.
You know what? I'm really tired of these robberies when Subriel Matias didn't get awarded a robbery when he clearly lost in Puerto Rico. That should have been a robbery for Subriel. How to come it did not happen in Puerto Rico?
But for real though, like give me the Gervonta Davis fight next. Like what does he do at this point?
I think he doesn't have a dance partner at
Do you do the
135 pounds.
Do you do the Isak Cruz rematch?
That's what I was just about to say. I think Isak Cruz fights this weekend, and Tank goes back up to 140. He hasn't fought at 140 since Mario Barrios, and fights Isak Cruz. And I would take Tank to win that fight. Could you imagine? Because there's better fights to be made at 140. Because like people seem to be ducking Tank, man.
I don't know if he goes up. I think Cruz drops back down.
I can see that. But at the same time, I do want Tank to be in meaningful fights as well. Right? Because for me, I believe he's the best lightweight, but then everyone's like, well, Tank is a cherry picker and he cherry picks his fight. He just fought Frank Martin, which is an up and coming guy.
Frank Martin's a good win.
A very good win. Like people need to stop saying that about Tank Davis. I think
Frank Martin's a better win than George Kambosos.
100%. I don't. Let's stop talking about Kambosos. No disrespect, but not today. I don't want to talk about him today because listen, you got your bread. You know, like he got his bread. Let's just leave it at that. You're making your dollars, cool, but I don't want to talk about you anymore. I'm sorry. Not on the mandatory. I'm not doing it anymore. Like you know how I don't want to talk about who is it? We're gonna talk about Jack Catterall and Regis Prograis because that is a fight that's going to happen that got postponed, if I'm not mistaken. Like,
yeah, we don't actually have to talk about it because it got postponed.
Yeah,
maybe in October. We'll see.
We'll see what happens.
August in terms of boxing, it's not looking great after this weekend. Versus Ortiz is supposed to fight coming up. That's actually going to be a good fight, but there's not a lot for the rest of the month after that.
No, but we're going to have you covered, obviously, here at the Mandatory. Let's get to some comments. A very good friend of the show, I am PK13. Presumably, the reason Loma took the year off is that he and Tay cannot come to terms on the contract.
Okay. Presumably. I mean, we know there has to be, I mean, in boxing, what is boxing without contract disputes? There has to be some sort of contract dispute.
They were saying, like, the dumbest stuff, though. They were like, oh, maybe Lomachenko's retiring. He has other stuff going on, and I understand he actually does.
What is that voice?
It's the I'm not falling for the BS voice. You know what I mean? There's too much BS going on right now, and that's what happens usually when these fights don't happen. It's just a bunch of BS, and that's how I feel about it. Because it's like, just make the fight. Like, what are we doing here? Fight the best.
We all have these voices that, like, when we mock people, like, we have something in mind or something regarding how they sound. So it was interesting to me that you went.
I do a bunch of voices to Bryan all the time.
That's true. Some of which we can't.
Let's just say that I do very good impressions. I do very good impressions sometimes. Let's go over back to Tony Ayo. Kambosos lost to Maxie Hughes, 100%. That's another fight that got me mad.
Bad robbery.
What are we doing here?
Shit. That was one of the worst ones was that last year? I'm looking it up right now. I remember watching that 2023. Yeah, I remember watching that. Now, granted, I was at a barbecue while I had it on my phone and I was watching it.
I remember you sent me your plate.
and I'm watching this shit. You know, I got like arroz con gandules and I got fucking, you know, chicken and steak. You know what I mean? Like I'm eating, I'm watching the fight. So is like my uncle is like coming back from the grill, whatever. My dad, you know, he's having a drink in his hands and be like, oh, who's fighting? Whatever. Cause like, you know, this is what we do. It's because it's a bunch of us. And after the fight, I remember texting you, be like, Maxie Hughes got this shit. I had it like 8-4 Maxie Hughes or whatever. Like it wasn't even that close. And then I remember being like, but they might give it to Kambosos because, you know, name recognition, whatever. And then they gave it to him. And it was like,
I felt bad for Maxie, though. That was
robbery.
That was a upsetting robbery. Like when it's very close and it goes to the other boxer, whatever, like that happens. But this was a pure broad daylight robbery.
Can I give you one more stat before we move off of George Kambosos for the rest of the episode? And for your preference for the rest of whatever. Can you guessed? Wow. Awful English.
You've been covering Olympics all day. It's okay.
Professional broadcaster here. And Team USA is actually about to play Belgium, so that's going to happen in 10 minutes. Can you guess the last time George Kambosos won a fight that was not a majority or split decision?
No.
If you want to try.
No, I don't. Like,
It
who
was
is it?
2019. He stopped Richard Pena in
Oh,
Greece. So
Richard Pena in Greece.
we're talking about 7 straight fights that either he lost or he won by split or majority decision.
I just want to apologize to my family in Australia. I'm sorry. I'm sorry I'm being a pure hater right now, but I can be. Let's get to some comments. We got another one. Shakur Zepeda is official on October 12th, according to reports. Who reported that? Is that
BoxRec doesn't have it, so But there's the rumor at least is that's going to happen in the fall. It doesn't seem like that's been confirmed though, but
yeah.
I don't. I tell you what, I've heard more Shakur Zepeda talk than I've heard Shakur Tank talk,
and I'm okay with that. I'm okay with him fighting Zepeda because I think it would be an interesting fight. And if Shakur makes it an interesting fight and he wins, then it's like, okay, well, let's talk about you fighting Tank then, or Loma. Like one of those three have to fight each other, because otherwise, what are we doing here?
Yeah, I to me, like, look, Shakur versus Zepeda is acceptable on merit, but I won't care nearly as much as I will about Shakur versus Tank. And I feel like now is the perfect time for Shakur versus Tank. Boxing, I don't feel like has had as many oh shit fights as last year yet. There's been some, obviously, Fury Usyk we got, for example, but last year it felt like there were more, and especially at this point of the year, because we had already had Tank Garcia, we had Crawford versus Spence, and etc. Benavidez versus Plant became a big event.
Yeah.
And with this one, it's like I think the sport is ready now for Tank versus Shakur. All this attention that Shakur has gotten, for better and worse, just like now he's somebody who's like a live wire that people are just reacting to everything he does, whether they love him or hate him. He's a super divisive guy now. It's kind of on that Floyd Mayweather path, but he's not that big of a draw yet. But he's beefing with Cameron, and he's throwing shots at Mace, and you know what I mean? Like Joe Budden's talking about him on his show. You know what I mean? Like he's crossing over for different reasons,
for the wrong reasons though.
Maybe, but
he's crossing over for being busy on the Twitter fingers or X fingers now, and also being boring.
But it makes people pay attention to him. Yeah. And if he fights Tank now, Tank is a mainstream pay-per-view star. Like he was more so for the Ryan Garcia fight than he is for the Frank Martin fight. But the point is that Gervonta Davis versus Shakur Stevenson, like that's something that could do a shit ton of buys. I don't know if $1 million is the number, but like 750, 800,000 or something like that. Like I think that's legitimately possible if you make that fight happen later this year.
And at the same time, I think they both have a lot to gain, because if Tank was to beat Shakur, then I don't think anyone's ever going to be doubting Tank about anything. And then if Shakur actually, I don't know how, I think he would be running in that fight. However,
come on.
I think he would. Because he don't want to get hit by Tank, man. However,
you shouldn't want to get. No one should want to get hit by Tank.
No, yeah, I'm sorry. It just is what it is. But and if Shakur was to beat Tank and actually I think he's gonna run. But let's say he beats Tank, then it's like, what can we really say about Shakur? So both these guys have a lot to gain. Let's go over to Yoda's comment, because I think this is an interesting one. Also on Tank and Shakur, do you have Tank outboxing Shakur if Tank doesn't land a big shot? I don't. Shakur would have to be busy, but I would still take Tank to win that fight. Because if I'm betting now,
because he'll probably land a big shot.
he's deceptive. He's very deceptive. His Tank is very skilled. He doesn't throw a lot, but he's extremely accurate. And I think he's the best lightweight. I would take him above Shakur Stevenson right now today.
I don't know what I'd do. I think that is the truest 50-50 fight in boxing you can make right now. I think, other than maybe better BF Bivol, which is going to happen, like that's already set for later this year. So that's a big fight. But in terms of 50-50 fights that you can make, this is probably number one right now. So to me, I continue to go back and forth. Like I'm like, Tank will probably catch him, but like, what if he doesn't? And he starts off slow, and then Shakur just kind of makes it a boring fight and just outpoints him. But what if Tank catches him? Like, you just keep going
Yeah.
back and forth.
You know what's crazy is I know how good Shakur is, and maybe I'm just being a little bit too hard on him. But even at this point, just based off what I've seen, I like the way Devin Haney fights over Shakur because at least Devin Haney takes chances. Devin takes chances. Shakur is like running. Why are you running? Like, I get it. The point of boxing is not to be hit. Throw and don't be hit. But you got to throw a little bit more. Like, Shakur doesn't want all the criticism, but when you're going to be a superstar, you're going to get criticism too. Tank gets it. Tank gets criticism all the time. And he's one of the best in the sport. As does Canelo. We just spent like 30 minutes talking about Canelo, one of the best in the sport. So, I think for Shakur Stevenson, he's got to roll with the punches a little bit. Bryan, any final thoughts before we get up and out of here?
Everybody gets criticized first and foremost. I mean, there's still people out there who will say Terrence Crawford's resume is dog shit up until the Errol Spence win. Like that's the thing that people are saying that other people would agree with. So whatever. Um, but to me, like that's the ultimate fight to make is Gervonta Davis versus Shakur Stevenson, because the winner will have the most "what can they say about me now" energy possible, and it will be earned. And we'll go with this last comment here from Yoda. Thank you for contributing so much to the show. Thank you to everybody else who
Yeah.
watched. There's a bunch of people here and who commented. We'll be back next week. But Yoda says Shakur can beat Tank the same way Fundora beat Sue. Tank
I,
does take a lot of shots. Tank bruises easily.
but here's the thing. I think Tim Tszyu lost because of that cut because
Yeah,
he
me
was
too.
fighting pretty well and then that cut happened and Fundora capitalized and Fundora actually fought the way he should have. But I think Tim Tszyu would have won that fight if it
Yeah.
wasn't for that big gash. That's how I see it. And I wish there was a rematch for that.
So headbutt Tank very early on and then outbox him.
So hit him with the headbutt, then run. I don't know. But
I
hopefully,
want the fight to happen because I have
yeah.
I don't know. I don't know which way I would go. I go back and forth all the time between those two, legit.
I'm rolling with Tank. But by the way, guys, if you like the content, hit that like and subscribe button. Follow us on our social media channels. We're at the Mandatory TKO. By the way, big fight going down Saturday, the Bud Crawford Madrimov card. We are going to be having a post-fight show. So come and kick it with us after the fights. Thank you so much for rocking with us. Remember, subscribe to the show. It helps the channel grow. And Bryan, I'll let you have the final thoughts before we get up and out of here.
See you Saturday because that's a really fun card. And I've only have 2 bets, and I'm probably gonna keep it there because I'm scared of the heavyweight fights.